Hello, welcome to the first episode of Living Life Podcast. My name is Musa Thompson, and I'm a Nigerian, but I'm living in Finland. This is the first episode of this podcast that I've decided to produce in order to tell my story, my cancer story, my leukemia story. I felt that there is a lot that could be learned because before I was diagnosed of leukemia, I really don't know anything about it, and I really don't pay so much attention to this kind of sickness because I always believed that such a thing would not come my way. So I really don't know anything about it, and I haven't gone through it, I haven't been diagnosed and gone through it. I felt like this is an avenue for me to equally share this story for a whole lot of people who might never thought they would ever experience it, and for a whole lot of people also who might be experiencing such a thing for the first time. There is a whole lot that goes into this. There is a whole lot of shocks. There is a whole lot of disbeliefs. There is a whole lot of sadness. There is a whole lot of uncertainties. So I felt the need to really share this story. And this is the first episode of Living Life podcast. And on this episode, I will be talking about my diagnosis. I always say that this diagnosis is the shock of my life. I never expect somebody like me living the type of life that I was living, an active life, very physical, active life. I never expected something like that would happen to me. And this is one thing also that I want every listeners to take out from this first episode, that irrespective of who we are, irrespective of how we live our life, irrespective of what's going on within us, leukemia can happen to just anybody, just anybody, unfortunately. But since it has happened to me and I felt like I did everything right not to actually experience something like this, I always say, I've been saying to myself ever since then that things like this can only happen to we, the special ones. And that's how I've seen it. So, first episode, diagnosis. I'm going to be talking about my early symptoms. What were the early symptoms? What did I felt like? What were the things that I saw that made me feel like something was very, very wrong? And I would say that absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. Prior to the week that I went to the hospital and I got admitted, and I was diagnosed and I got admitted. Throughout that week, I felt nothing. I was in the best condition of my life. I was active. I was going to my work. I was doing everything that I could do as a normal person until this very Monday morning. And I started having pains over my shoulders and my back. And it felt like a typical muscle pain, nothing serious. And I said to myself, well, this is one of those things that happens after going to the gym and lifting excessive weights, much more than what I usually lift. And that actually happened in the week prior to this week. So I assumed that it was a muscle pain. So I visited the doctor on a Tuesday. The doctor told me, I told the doctor everything, that I'm very physically active. I go to the gym 4 to 5 times a week. And I think that this is as a result of my recent gym activities from last week. So the doctor gave me a prescription of painkillers, which I started taking from the Tuesday. Coming down to Wednesday and Wednesday morning, the pain was unbearable. So I visited the physiotherapist on Wednesday, still believing that this whole pain is from the muscle, even though at that time it begins to feel to me like this wasn't just a muscle pain. This is a little bit much more than what I felt in the past. I've been going to the gym in the last 5, 6 years, and even though when I have a break of 1 month and I return back, I really don't, that kind of a pain, I really never felt it. But I'm still assuming that it as a result of this previous week gym exercise. So I went to the physiotherapist. It gave me a whole lot of trainings, a whole lot of stretching exercises to relax the muscles and all of that. But it never worked. I was at home on Thursday. The pain was getting more and more severe that I couldn't manage anymore. And I just keep living on painkillers every like every 3 to 4 hours. I just have to eat this painkiller just to reduce the pain. So on Friday, I visited the doctor again, and this time the doctor really needed to take a whole lot of examinations, blood tests, chest X-ray, and all of these other kind of examinations, which when the result came out, the doctor told me that he thinks that we are dealing with something much bigger than what I've been talking about here. And I was thinking, what could that be? However, he told me right away there that I should be moving myself straight away to the emergency ward of the general hospital in my city called Olu. And I was still very skeptic about this decision. And I felt like, well, cannot be that bad and all of that. But I arrived at the emergency ward. They checked me all out. They kept me in a certain place for a period of time and then took all kinds of samples and did all sorts of x-rays and all sorts of examinations and everything that they could do that evening. And after a couple of hours, I got a message that from a nurse that I will be staying at the hospital for the whole weekend at the very least. And I was like, no, this cannot be so. That why am I going to be lying down here? That I have a lot to do and all. And she was like, well, that's the instruction from the doctor. And I think that's the best option for me. And after a couple of minutes, the doctor herself came telling me that from all the blood samples that they've taken, from all the tests, from all the examinations that they've checked out, we think that we are dealing with a leukemia here. Wow. That was a shock for me because that was the least I was expecting for myself. And then at that point, I told her, I know that cannot be so, that this is just all about gym exercises and all of that, because it's just a body pain. And I felt like if I'm dealing with a case like leukemia, I should be dealing with something some much more bigger symptoms than just the body pain. But she told me that, yeah, the doctor told me that yeah, she thinks that we are dealing with leukemia here, and she cannot confirm that yet. But after other results comes, she will let me know. But it's looking like that. Wow. Ah, God, I was perplexed. I was sad. I don't even know what to think. I don't even know what to say at that point. And the only thing I could do was I called my spouse because this was not what we were expecting to hear. And I gave her the message. Few hours later, about an hour or two later, after the doctor has given me this information, the doctor came back and she told me that they are about 80% sure that this is what we are dealing with here. And they will be taking me to the cancer ward where I will be receiving treatment from that very evening. And that was the start of this journey of my leukemia story. A very tough start to understand, a very tough start to actually accept, a very tough start to believe that somebody like me, with all my physical activities, with the lifestyle that I've been living in the past years, a very clean one, but in terms of intakes, in terms of food, in terms of drinks, in terms of everything, I wouldn't want to believe that such a thing will be happening to somebody like me. I wouldn't want to believe that such a diagnosis will be given to somebody like me. But this is one lesson that everybody should learn. Leukemia is not irrespective of any man, irrespective of the life that you are living. When it decides to come, it comes. And when it comes, what we are left with is how we decide to take it. The beginnings are very tough. The beginnings are very, very difficult to manage. We ourselves, mindset wise, we really need to take a positive stance against it. And that will help a lot as things goes further. So that was my early symptoms. That was a little bit of my lifestyle, very physically active lifestyle. What were the early thoughts after I was diagnosed? It was my thoughts were like, is this the end of it all? What am I going to do next? What does life got to offer me after this? How am I going to go through this? What are the things that my body needs? What are the things that my life needs to return back to its usual self? These are the thoughts that comes into me at the early stage of my diagnosis. And these thoughts lived with me for the very first 2 weeks. So let me talk about the very early stage, the first couple of, let's say the first week after I arrived at the hospital. When they moved me down to the ward on that Friday evening, I was kept in the ward for that weekend. Nothing much happened. All that the nurses were doing on that weekend was just to make sure that they try to control the pains for me as much as they can. And luckily enough, by Sunday, I felt a lot better with the pains. By Monday morning, I have a whole lot of doctors, a whole lot of hematologists coming in to give me a very comprehensive instructions and informations in regards to my situation, considering all that have happened over the weekend and how they will be moving forward. The news weren't so good. The news weren't so nice. They told me that I was having the acute myeloid leukemia, and it's for me to actually get back to my usual self, at least to give me some level of comfort, to put me back into some level of life again. My treatment will require a stem cell transplant. All of these informations, all of these terms, I actually don't know. I don't even have an idea about all that is going on here anymore. But they told me that for the stem cell transplant to actually happen, I will also need a donor. At this point, the world was crumbling down in front of me. I was losing it all. I was just giving up on everything, that this is getting too much. And complaints started coming that why me, oh Lord? Why me, God? Why do somebody like me have to go through all of this? Why do I have to face this? Why? I felt I was raging. I was very angry. I felt really, really sad. I was crying. Nothing at that point could actually console my spirit, because I felt like I have just been badly cheated by life. Because I did everything that I could do right with my life. Unfortunately, this was where I found myself. So I felt badly cheated about life, that I felt like I couldn't go on anymore. But however the case is, I am a person of faith, and I believe so much in God. I derive faith at that moment, and I talked to few people. I got a whole lot of advices. Someone shared his story with me that put me in a state of rest. And it's also something that I want to point out in this early stage, in this diagnosis episode, that when we go through such things, if life decides to play so hard on us, somebody somewhere has been prepared to give us some level of comfort. I called this person. This person shared his story with me, and I couldn't even believe what I was hearing from him. And this story gave me some level of comfort. So whatever the case was, that very week, I started my full treatment. The journey of getting me back to where I am today started on Tuesday. I was admitted on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. My full treatment started in the morning around 6 a.m. This is a feat that even my hematologist told me that it's really uncommon. It's not that it cannot happen, but it's really very uncommon that such things happen. That in the space of those days, that the full treatment started. And in the course of also, while I was complaining about my life, about the kind of pure, clean life that I've been living for many years, why such things would happen to me, I got some advice from one of my hematologists that as at the time I arrived at the hospital, at the emergency ward, and all that I could have is just the body pains. That is as a result of my healthy living. Because as at the point that I arrived at the emergency ward, I should be basically having more symptoms than that if there was some kind of a ailment or other kind of a diseases living in my body, obesity, kidney problem, lung problems. If I was having anything at all within me, any kind of diseases that was hiding somewhere in my body system, that the cancer itself would have triggered it, and my symptoms should have been worse than what I had when I arrived. But for some reason, all I had was body pains. And I should give myself a very thumbs up for that, because whatever the case is, whatever the kind of life that I've lived in the last 5 years that I've been complaining about, it has really paid off for me at that point. And that's why also in this episode, I want to encourage every one of us. We don't know what tomorrow holds. We don't know how we will be waking up the following day. Whoever told me that I will wake up on that Monday morning with such a pain and end up on Friday at the cancer ward, I will never believe it. So we don't know. But what we do with our body today, what we eat, how we sleep, our level of activities will be there as a very sure insurance for us on a days like this. This has helped me a lot. This has put me back on a verge of returning to who I want to be again. And I'm really grateful for that. And ever since the doctor told me I should appreciate myself for all that I've put into myself in the last 5 years in terms of physical activities, I complain no more about why this really happens to me. I just want to start living my life and trying to face every of the treatment as it comes and as I try to get back to myself. And also, something that I would like to also share in this first episode is the role of family, role of friends and family. The role of family is a very important one. I think I would not even for only a leukemia patient, for everybody who is at the point, who is having a kind of a diagnosis that could take the life. The role of family is a very important one. My spouse, the role she played, my spouse mother, the role she played, my spouse relatives, my own brothers and sisters, the role they played. At that point, I needed the close families to be around and few friends. And one of the things here also that it was very important for me, that at that point that I really don't know what's really going on, I got the initiative to actually share what was happening to me at the early stage, with only very few people, 4 people in precise. And I think also that really helps me a lot. So having gone through all of these things, having gone through all of these stages, having seeing this beginning as it were in this first week, I want to use this opportunity to tell everyone, or to tell those that are listening, or those that will want to hear this, that no matter the situation, the beginning could be very, very tough. The beginning could be very, very like unbearable. The beginning could be very deadly. But if we'll keep a positive mindset, if we keep the faith going, if we believe that something better and bigger and greater and more, and be very positive in all that is going on, even in the face of adversities, if we keep our belief strong, if we keep our faith strong, that will help the mental state during this treatment, and that will also help to get a better result out of this treatment. There is no reason to complain. There is no reason to feel down. There is no reason to keep crying. Yes, this time comes. Yes, I went through all of this moment. Yes, I was crying so many times at why. Yes, I was asking so many questions, but we are not allowed to put ourselves in that state whereby we will be so down that we cannot put ourselves back up. This thing, it's a deadly disease. This thing, it's a deadly case. But I am a living witness that I went through it to the very extreme end of it, of this leukemia journey. And I'm here. This is like about less than 2 years. This first episode, it's recorded under 2 years from the day I was diagnosed till this very moment. And I can categorically say that a lot has happened, a lot has gone down the drain, a lot has been affected, but I am here sharing the story, telling everyone that wants to hear, everybody that is listening to this podcast, that it's very, very possible to get back to life, to get back on our feet, to get back to what we've been doing before. Today, this very day that I'm recording this very podcast, I have been to the gym this morning. I spent 1 hour, 45 minutes. I try to do as much as I can. And still, it's under 2 years from the day I was diagnosed. So take strength from this. Take courage from this. Take whatever power that you can take from this, and know that your tomorrow definitely will be far better than today, irrespective of what we are going through. Leukemia diagnosis is a one deadly one. Any other kind of diseases could be very deadly, but I want everyone listening to my podcast today to take some strength from this and know that you will also come through. You will also come through. You will also come through. Thank you for listening to my first episode of this podcast. Today, it's all about my diagnosis. Today, it's all about just encouraging every one of us. And as we go further into the next topic and the upcoming topics, I will discuss more, and you will learn more about this journey. And I believe you will derive more strength as I release the other episodes. But yes, I believe that this is just the start of the journey. And I hope that this has blessed everybody that have listened to it. This has blessed your soul one way or the other. And finally, the takeaway from this episode: do not give up. Do not give up. I don't know who is listening to this. I don't know who is hearing this. But as much as I can reach with my message from this first episode, I want to tell you that do not give up. The beginning is very tough. The start of the journey comes with a whole lot of uncertainties. The end that nobody knows. But all I can admonish us here is do not give up. And secondly, the second takeaway from this first episode will be leukemia can happen to anybody. It can just happen to anybody. And as I've said it earlier at the beginning of this episode, it has happened to me. And I've seen myself as one of the special ones living on earth. Yes, there is a whole lot of people that have not been as lucky as I am to still be alive after the diagnosis. But the truth is, irrespective of whatever the case is, it can happen to anybody. And if we put in the positive mindset, if we don't give up on ourselves, then we will help the doctors, actually, the hematologists, all the physicians that work on us. If we don't give up, we will help them to have a positive result on our case. So please, for everyone listening to my voice, for everyone listening to this podcast, take these 2 points away from this first episode. Whatever you are going through, do not give up. And whatever you are going through, it can happen to anybody. Thank you for listening to this first episode, and hope to have you listening to the next episode. Have a wonderful day. I remain your very host, Musa Thompson. Bye.